Hello, guys. How are you? I hope you're fine and your family too. Last session we talked about the three to the five forces by the uh, Porter models and Porter's model. Sorry, and now we're going to talk about the last two forces and the group force. The fourth of Porter's five competitive forces is the bargaining power of suppliers, the organizations that provide inputs to the industry, such as materials, services, and labor, which can be individuals, organizations, such as unions, or companies that provide contract labor. Bargaining power of suppliers refers to their ability to increase input prices or otherwise raise industry costs. For example, by offering low-quality inputs or poor service. Powerful suppliers reduce the profits of an industry by raising the costs and companies operating in its face. Therefore, empowered providers are a threat. Conversely, if the providers are weak, the companies that make up the industry have the opportunity to force the reduction of input prices and demand higher quality inputs, such as more productive labor. As with buyers, the ability of suppliers to demand certain conduct from a company depends on the on its power in relation to it. Providers have more power in the following situations: the product they sell has few substitutes and it's vital to companies in an industry. Their profitability is not significantly affected by the poor cases of companies in a particular industry. That is, when the industry is not a major customer for them. Other example is when companies in an industry would experience significant costs if they decide to exchange a product for another supplier because those offered by one of them are unique or different. In such cases, the company depends on a particular supplier and cannot encourage others to confront each other to reduce the price. Suppliers may threaten to enter their customers' industry and use their inputs to manufacture products that would directly compete with those of existing companies in the industry. Companies operating in the industry cannot threaten to enter their supplier sector and produce their own inputs as a tactic to lower their prices. An example of an industry in which companies depend on a powerful provider is that of personal computers. The companies that make them rely heavily on Intel, the world's largest provider of PC microprocessors. The industry in standard runs on the chips of Intel's microprocessors. The competitors of this firm, such as Advanced Micro Devices (AMD), must develop and provide chips compatible with the Intel standard. Despite the fact that AMD has developed chips that can compete, Pentium continues to supply almost 85% of the chips that are used mainly in PCs because only Intel has the manufacturing capacity that is required to serve a large sector of the market. It is beyond the final resources of its competitors, like AMD, to match the scale of efficiency of its manufacturing systems. This means that although PC manufacturers can buy some microprocessors from Intel rivals, mainly AMD. They still have to turn to Intel for most of their supply. Since the firm has a powerful trading position, it can change higher prices of its microprocessors, but the opposite would happen if its competitors were greater in number and strength. That is, if the microprocessors industry fragmented. And the final strength of Porter's model is the threat of substitute products. The products of different businesses or industries that can satisfy similar customer needs. For example, companies operating in the coffee industry compete indirectly with the tea and soft drink industries because all three serve the needs of non-alcoholic beverage customers. The existence of close substitutes is a powerful competitive threat because it limits the price that an industry's companies can charge for its product and consequently the profitability of the industry. If the products of an industry have few close substitutes, so they so that they are a weak competitive force and other factors remain the same and the companies of the industry have the opportunity to increase prices and obtain additional profits. Therefore, there are no close substitutes for microprocessors, which gives companies like Intel and AMD the ability to charge higher prices, which would not happen if there was a substitute for them. Um, Andrew Grove, a former Intel CEO, says Porter 5 model overlooks a sixth force, the power, vigor, and competence of complementary companies. They are companies that sell products that add value to products that other companies that operate in a in an industry make because when they are used together they better satisfy customer demands. For example, complementary companies in the personal computers industry are companies that produce programs to run them on these machines. The greater the offer of high quality programs to run on personal computers, the greater of value they have for customers, the greater their demand and the greater of profitability of the industry that produces them. Group's argument has a solid foundation in economic theory, which has long indicated that both substitute and complementary items influence demand in an industry. In addition, recent research has emphasized the importance of ancillaries in determining the demand and profitability of many high-tech industries, such as the computer industry in which Grove performed. Therefore, the point is that when complementary products are an important determinant of the demand for an industry's products, its earnings depend critically on having the adequate supply of complementary products. When the number of complementary companies increases and makes attractive products, the demand is stimulated. The profits of the industries increase and many new opportunities can be opened to generate value. On the other hand, if the complementary ones are weak and do not generate attractive products, they can be a threat to the growth of the company and put a limit on profitability. Systematic analysis of forces in the industry environment using the Porter structures is a powerful tool that helps managers think strategically. It is important to recognize that one competitive force often affects others, so all must be considered when conducting an industry analysis. Surely, industry analysis force managers to think systematically about how their strategic decisions will be affected by the forces of industry competition and, and how their decisions will affect the five forces to change. Industry conditions. Um, this that's all for this theme about the five forces by Porter's model and one more force by Grove's model. Now you're going to answer following questions by teams. This activity is for this week. Is uh, is the the homework for to make an analysis of your industries and sectors. The next session we will talking about the environment, macro environment analysis, and then we will talk about the politicians, economies, legal, and social conditions in the countries for our international business plane. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience because I don't upload every day's themes and content of our 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 uh, class, and see you later.